On October 26th, from 11:30 to 4:30, I was given the invaluable opportunity to shadow the CEO of our own Emory Johns Creek Hospital, Miss Marilyn Margolis. Here's what my schedule looked like. From 11:30 to 12:30, I talked to Miss Margolis about her responsibilities in the hospital, what she does on a day-to-day basis, and what her job really is all about. There are many other people involved in the upkeeping of the hospital, such as the Johns Creek Advantage Board, the Chamber of Commerce, and the mayor. 25% of Ms. Margolis' time is spent in community affairs, where she meets with the mayor and the chamber to talk about how Emory Johns Creek gets funded. Another 25% is spent with each department in the hospital, such as heads and the CMO, the chief medical officer, who I also got to talk to. 7 people have direct lines of report to her. 35% of her time is physician-related, such as recruitment for the hospital, and the other 15% of the time is spent on strategic planning for putting resources in the right place, expanding the hospital, and making connections in the community. During lunchtime, I got to eat and sit in on an interview with the CEO and CMO, Dr. O, for someone interviewing for a new marketing position. The interview was fascinating and a great glimpse into interviews in the real world. I learned more about the hospital and its goals for the future in philanthropy and patient and family-centered care. From 1:32 until 3:30, I interviewed Dr. O, who is Emory Johns Creek's chief medical officer, to learn more about hospital administration from a physician standpoint. The CMO is the medical director of all care coordination in the hospital. Dr. O splits his time about 50% in admin work and 20% in clinical work, which is what we think of as more doctory work. He says he has a fulfilling job because he can care for all patients. Dr. O told me that he had a very strong interest in public health, which drove him to really enjoy his administration position now, although he trained to be a clinical physician. Usually he meets with different departments to talk about the hospital, but on clinical days he starts rounding at 7 a.m. and goes through 15 to 16 patients. Throughout the day he will talk about treatment plans with his patients as well as update family. The day is supposed to end at 7 p.m., but Dr. O usually doesn't leave until 11 p.m. The day I was shadowing at the hospital also happened to be their monthly leadership meeting. All the heads of the departments were at this meeting, and I got to hear them plan their annual holiday party. Afterwards, the meeting was spent talking about how efficiently each department performed in October. The CMO also talked about several specific cases that the hospital needed to improve on, and new consent forms and protocols forthcoming to the hospital. Since that day was their monthly leadership meeting, I also got to do some celebration rounding before I left. Celebration rounding was a really fun experience. I got to follow Miss Margolis and her team around the hospital to the departments who did the best in October on patient satisfaction and error minimizing. There was a big cart with snacks and candy for the hardworking hospital staff in these deserving departments. After celebration rounding, it was time for me to go home. Miss Margolis sent me off with a copy of Good to Great, which is an awesome book that I would really recommend. She was so warm and welcoming for the whole day and even made sure I had her information so I could contact her in the future to visit. My shadowing experience was extremely helpful to me and helped me to cement my hunch that I would love to be involved in medicine someday. The teamwork, friendships, and relationships I saw in the 4 short hours I was there was mind-blowing. It humbled me to know that we have such a well-oiled machine in our very own community. Prior to my shadowing, I knew very little about healthcare administration. However, afterwards, I realized that because of my personality, I would be very well suited for something like administration. I hope that in the future I will be able to combine my passion for medicine and health and do a little bit of both clinical work and admin work.
Created using Powtoon.